Who wants to go there for their next vacation? We got the adventurer over there. I have a feeling you love science, don't you? Okay, reading on. Here, you'll find birds that grow as tall as a man. Cassowaries remind you of dinosaurs. They sport tall helmets of bone growing up from their blue and black heads. Long, skinny black feathers hang from their bodies like hair. Because they only have tiny stumps for wings, cassowaries can't fly, but they sure can fight. They can leap into the air and slash at their enemies with claws as sharp as razors. Other birds, like the pitawee, have poisonous feathers. And still others are so beautiful they're called birds of paradise. Strange animals abound. The treeock is a beautiful black and white striped possum with a pink nose and huge black eyes. The fourth finger on each hand is more than twice as long as the others, all the better to grab fish grubs from holes in rotting trees. The echidna is a spine-covered worm-eating mammal who lays eggs instead of giving birth to live babies. The Dorcopsis is a fat little kangaroo who grows no longer than your forearm. The pademelon is another one who sleeps in soft beds of grass. The cuscus lives in trees and its eyes are huge. Its fur thick and soft, and it holds on to branches with pink hands and a pink grasping tail. Now do you want to go? Yeah. I gotta show you that bird. With its bone ridge. I wouldn't want to get in a fight with that, would you? But perhaps the most amazing of them all is the Matthews tree kangaroo. It lives only in one place in the entire world, the cloud forest of the Huon Peninsula on the northeast coast of Papua New Guinea. The western half of New Guinea is part of a much larger nation of Indonesia. New Guinea isn't exactly the sort of place you'd expect a typical kid growing up in a New York City apartment to end up. But Lisa wasn't typical. It's kind of like going from Seoul to a jungle like that. Remember how we did a little bit of envisioning about Lisa? I think we just got a clue that we're going to find out a little bit more about Lisa. We just heard Lisa wasn't typical. I think we're going to find out what makes her atypical, not typical. Lisa always loved animals, watching them, reading about them, writing stories about them, but being with animals wasn't easy. She was so allergic to fur. She even had to give away her beloved cat Twinkles when she was 11. She couldn't have a dog either. As a child, sometimes she would wake at night gasping for breath. Lisa has asthma. Have you heard of asthma?
I had asthma.
You know, so you know. What is asthma? You had it before.
I had it.
It makes it very hard to breathe sometimes. She loved sports, but she couldn't join the track or basketball teams because sometimes running would make her breathing even worse. Who'd have thought that she'd grow up to be a tree kangaroo scientist climbing 10,000-foot mountains in the thin air of the cloud forest? Surprising, huh? Not Lisa's elementary school teachers. Since kindergarten, not one of them encouraged her interest in animals. In fact, one teacher complained to Lisa's mother. She thought a little girl who always wrote stories about animals was odd. Lisa's two older sisters weren't as excited about animals as Lisa was. But their mom, the principal at a nursery school, understood. She loved animals and nature too. How could Lisa bring animals into her life? Living in New York City, how could she observe them in the wild? We didn't have a lawn or a backyard, Lisa remembers. Instead, we had the asphalt roof of the garage. But even there, she found a way. Little ants lived on the roof. So Lisa decided to study them. She used to collect them in Dixie cups. That way, she could pick them up without hurting them and watch whatever they did. Mainly, they just tried to get out of the cup. Then she would let them go. Later, in high school, Lisa researched a report on beluga whales, the beautiful white whales of the Arctic. She read books and articles, but that wasn't enough. She went to the New York Aquarium. She decided to see what she could find out by watching the beluga whales up close and personal. She even got to touch one. The next year, as a senior, Lisa volunteered to help a scientist at the American Museum of Natural History in New York. He was studying electric fish. One really big electric fish lived in a tank in his lab. She remembers that he told her to put her hand into the tank to feel how strong the shock was. I was a little scared, but I did it. And I felt it, she said. It was a strong shock, but it didn't hurt. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. And so is this whole world of learning about animals. In college and as a graduate student, Lisa studied wild elephant seals and sea lions in California. When she was outdoors, fur didn't trigger her allergies. It didn't give her an allergic reaction. She studied TT monkeys and squirrel monkeys in a primate center at the University of California, Davis. But when she met her first tree kangaroos at the Seattle Woodland Park Zoo, she knew they were special. She knew that she would be willing to do anything to help these endangered animals. And she knew what she was going to have to do next. We're going to stop there for a second. And you made some predictions early on when we didn't know much about Lisa. We just found out quite a bit more about her life and what got her to this point. So on your third sticky note, write a few thoughts. Again, they don't need to be in complete sentences. Write a few thoughts about what we now know about Lisa. Were your earlier thoughts on her accurate? Is she like the person you were picturing in your mind?
Yeah.
And write down what you now know about her. You can also think about what will she do next. We ended with, and she knew what she needed to do next.
It was the kind of like the sickness